Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 116. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Xbox/Bethesda, The Last of Us Part 3, the Flash and Superman movies, Secret Invasion, and more. But as usual, we're going to start with our recent activities, and I will go first this time around. So first one is my only game that I've been playing these past 2 weeks. That's not like like multiplayer, live service, whatever the fuck you want to call. And that's Everybody Went to Switch. So I had my friends and family over for 4th of July, and Kofi, one of our other friends, was like, hey, do you have Everybody Went to Switch? And I was like, fuck no. And then he was like, I'll buy it for you. And I was like, all right, cool. So we bought it, we downloaded it, and we played it. And we only played 2 of the like smartphone mode games. Yeah. And it was only for like 20 minutes each. And it was fucking terrible. So the problem with this game is that, so obviously they have like a bunch of games that you can choose from, right? For the mobile aspect. And like the way it works is that like the 20-minute party is the first person or the first team to get 3 points. So what happens is that it rolls for the games. And because of that, you can get the same game twice. And the second time you play the game, it's like a sequel or like a different version of it. And you know how like sort of like draw where like they would say something different like more often. It's pretty much that same shit. But it was really bad because we played the same game twice. The first one was like the photo one where you would take your phone and you would take a photo of like something within the room that was similar to that color. So I'm like, oh, okay, like that's a fine idea. But the problem was that we chose, or like I put it so like they didn't have to like get up and move around, but we ended up getting up and moving around anyways. Right. And then the other game that we played twice was the fucking squatting game. So you don't have to get up and squat. The first time we did it, we all did it. But then the second time it was like, you can actually do it while sitting down and just have to move your phone up and down steadily. And I'm just like, this is awful. This is so bad. There were some other ones. There was like a UFO one where like you had to like go with like the rhythm and like do this to like call the aliens or some shit. I'm like, all right. And like there's like a lot of setup for these games as well. Like you can't just like they don't have like a app or anything like that, or it's not like Jackbox where you would just go into the URL and then just do it. Yeah. You have to scan the QR code. You can't just like put like a code in or whatever. And I'm just like, that's stupid. And like when you get into every single game, you have to like allow the camera, you have to allow motion, you have to allow this. And I'm just like, it's a lot. Every single time you have to go into a new game, you have to do like this 30, 45-second setup. But yeah, since we only played it for 40 minutes altogether, I was just like, okay, yeah, this is not the best sequel to 1-2 Switch. And I can see why they made it $30 and why they sort of just shadow dropped it.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah, no, so. It is not that great. I'm sure that we'll play it maybe a couple more times just for like all, shits and giggles or whatever. But yeah. I'm just like, I don't know what they were cooking, honestly. But Nintendo was not cooking
anything.
No. It was awful. The other things I got here are some movies. Just because I wanted to rewatch Interstellar, a Christopher Nolan film. I watched this or rewatched this during the pandemic. It was like during one of our like Discord movie nights or whatever. Yeah. But Target had like a buy 2 get 1 free sale on like movies or whatever. So I bought some of these, not all of them. But I wanted to rewatch this because this is one of my girlfriend's favorite movies. And I honestly forgot what happened. I was like, that was a good movie when I watched it. Like, I still remember the ending, but I don't remember everything that happened. So as I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that happened. Oh, okay, yeah, this, and that. It is kind of hard to follow sometimes just because they use, like, a lot of, like, science and shit, and I'm just like...
I just felt the ending was weird. Yeah. But I really liked it a lot, so... Mm-hmm.
The ending definitely was a little strange, but at the same time, I'm like, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it is still like a very, very well-made film, all things considered. Next film I got here is Midsommar. I've only heard really fucked up things about this, and I watched
too.
I watched the director's previous film, Hereditary, and that was fucking great. I love Hereditary. It's like one of the best horror films of recent years. But I never watched Midsommar. I think it came out during a time where I wasn't really seeing movies that much or whatever. So, but I watched it. And yeah, it's fucked up. It is so like weird and creepy. It's not like a traditional like horror film where like things are like in the dark, because like as you can see, it's like bright colors, very very colorful. You know, like you can see everything that's happening. It's just so fucking weird and messed up. Like the things that happened within this movie. That's all I can really say without spoiling anything, because I watched this film without knowing anything. All I knew was that it gets more and more fucked up. Like I was like, that's messed up, and then my girlfriend was like, nope, it gets worse. Trust me. And I was like, okay, and it fucking did. So, is it better than Hereditary? In my opinion, no. But it is definitely like a lot creepier and a lot weirder and a lot more extreme in terms of like what the fuck they're doing. The first like thing that happens within the movie is like pretty tame, but like after that it's like, oh my fucking god, what are they doing? But it's good. It's very very good. Apparently if you rewatch it, you'll see like certain things again, like certain like Easter eggs or whatever, like the director like hides in there, and I'm just like, do I really want to rewatch, or do I want to just like watch a YouTube video to like see all those Easter eggs? Because the movie's pretty fucked up. But yeah. And then the last movie I got here is Black Swan with Natalie Portman. This movie came out in 2010, and I knew nothing about it. All I knew was that my girlfriend wanted to watch it, and I was like, okay, I'll buy it on Blu-ray on Amazon. It was like $10. It came all fucked up, like the case is broken and whatnot.
Oh my god.
Anyways, you know, still watched it. It's actually very, very good. This is one of those films that I've heard a lot of good things about over the years, and I was just like, oh, okay, you know, it has Natalie Portman in it. That's probably why it's like very, very good, which is exactly that. But also like the story, because it's about this like this very like dedicated, very like hardworking, like perfectionist sort of ballerina dancer played by Natalie Portman. I forget the fucking characters' names already. But anyways, you know, she wants to make sure that when she is performing the Black Swan sort of dances or whatever, like they're like perfect, spot on, and everything. And obviously like throughout the movie she has stuff to work on and whatnot, and like her like home life and like her life at the sort of like dance place is like all fucked up. Like you'll see like throughout the movie like some like weird things happen. It's because it's like messing with like her head mentally, and sort of like a mental health awareness sort of film, all things considered. But yeah, it is very, very good. I think that the story, the directing, everything like that is very, very good. You know, not as fucked up as a Midsommar, but still, you know, some scenes may be a little much for some people.
Yeah, like I feel like with Midsommar, I'm like, I'll just read the wiki on that one. That's I'm a bitch.
Honestly, I don't know if reading it will do it justice.
Like Hereditary, I'm like, all I know about is the one scene with the, like, yeah, everyone knows that scene. So yeah, that's the only part I know about that movie. So I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. So anyway, so what I've been doing is I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 16. So it's been like the main thing I've been going through, and yeah, the game is really good. You know, like narratively, like story wise, all that stuff, it's fantastic. I've been loving the story. You know, I think if you're afraid it's gonna get too Game of Thrones, like, you know, if you're like a Final Fantasy fan, you're like, okay, the Game of Thrones angle isn't for me. Like, don't worry about that, because it kind of stops being Game of Thrones like 10% of the way in. It gets very JRPG, but like towards the later half. So like you're fine. So if you're worried about that, then like, yeah, don't be put off by that. Like, it's still like darker than a lot of Final Fantasies, but it has a lot of good moments. Like, it has a lot of like, you know, happier moments, I guess. Like, you still got your power of friendship and stuff, so you're good. So if you're worried about like it being like too dark or too Game of Thrones, like, oh, this isn't my Final Fantasy, like it definitely like goes way harder into that JRPG stuff like later on. But yeah, I think the story is fantastic so far. The voice acting has been really good. You know, I think it really shows when you record a game in English first, then Japanese, because like it feels really natural whenever all the characters are talking. Like, especially Clive's voice actor, which is like the main guy, like his voice actor nails it. It's like really good. Same thing with everyone else, like all the supporting characters, everything. I think the game is just really well acted. I think the story is great. I've been loving the story so far. I know the ending is a little weird, so I guess I'll see when I finish it. But right now, I've been loving it for that reason alone. I know the combat, again, I mentioned this last time, has been kind of controversial with being like, oh, it basically strips out any RPG elements. And yeah, that is true. Like, the more I play through it, the more it doesn't really bother me as much as it did earlier on. Because as you progress through the game, you get more icons, which basically changes how your abilities work and stuff. And I think once you get more of those unlocked, it feels a lot better to play through than just having like one through like 10 hours through the game. It's like, okay, I could use a little more variety in this. Once you start getting more icons and stuff, it becomes a lot more fun. But I do wish there was more RPG elements. Like I think the gear system is like pretty bad. Again, you just equip a better sword and that's about it. You know, just higher numbers, like, and that's it. You like level up. You know, you can't really you can unlock abilities and stuff, but it's not that exciting. Like you get the new active ability and that's about it. You can upgrade it once and then you can upgrade it again, so you could put it on any other icon instead of the one that's attached to. And that's really the only sort of like build craft you could do in this game. I think 7 Remake had a better like balance between action and RPG stuff. So hopefully if they do another mainline Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 17, like if they want to keep it like DMC combat or some other combat system, hopefully they have like a better balance. Because yeah, I think the combat's super fun and fast and fluid and stuff, but I think it really lacks that depth that other games have. Like DMC has, you know, a bunch of crazy combos you could do, and then games that are more leaning on the RPG side of things have like, okay, you got to have the right build to do this encounter. But this game is like pretty easy because it kind of wants to have, you know, it wants to have its cake and eat it too. So like it wants to appeal to action gamers and RPG gamers, and you know, it ends up just being like, it's fun, but it just lacks any depth really. So but yeah, it's still fun. Like you know, it's still like not like pulling me away from my experience at all, but I could definitely see why people wouldn't be that big of a fan of it. Another thing is the side quests, and a lot of people were like shitting on the side quests because like actually playing through the side quests is pretty standard stuff, like, oh, kill 10 bandits or like collect whatever. But I think the narrative things in them is really good. Like the actual like side stories you're doing within them is really good, and I think they're worth doing if you care about this world and the side characters and stuff. If you don't, then yeah, they're probably like a waste of time for you because you don't really get like anything from them. Like one, like they're not like that fun, I guess, to do gameplay wise. And two, you don't really get that many rewards from it in general. So like if you don't really care about any of the side characters or world building, I guess like you could skip them. But for me personally, I think they've been really engaging in terms of like story and stuff. And actually recently there's been a recent patch like yesterday where they took out motion blur, which was like another big complaint I had with the game because the motion blur was very aggressive. Now you could like turn that off, thank God, because it was pretty bad. But so far I've been really enjoying this game. You know, I get a lot of the complaints about it with like, you know, the combat system. It doesn't feel like Final Fantasy, but for me, like it's been super good. Like I just been enjoying the story so far. The combat I think has been pretty fun. Again, I do agree that it needs a little more in terms of RPG stuff, but I feel like that stuff could be fixed with like a super enhanced edition or whatever. You can easily add like path sieves or some other RPG systems or whatever. Like so I'm not like that concerned about that side of the game. I think for me, the heart and soul of RPG is always going to be the story and characters and stuff. And if that stuff is bad, then I think the game is going to just be bad. But I feel like the gameplay could be a little lacking, but if the story and characters are good, then I don't really care that much. So, yeah, I've been really enjoying the game a lot. Still highly recommend it. Hopefully next podcast I could have my whole thoughts done because I should be done with it by then because I'm like 80% of the way done. But yeah, so far, really, really good. I've been really enjoying it. Next, I have Pikmin 1 and 2. So I beat a Pikmin 1, and it was really good. You know, the game was really short. You know, it was only like 5 hours. I beat it in like 19 days, which I think is pretty good for like a first time playthrough. Yeah. And yeah, the game basically just, it just shows you what Pikmin's all about. You got your 3 basic types of Pikmin. You got your red, yellow, blues. You collect the ship parts, and that's it. And honestly, I thought the game would be not harder, because there are some hard elements to it, but I thought the game would be a little more like puzzly and stuff, but it really isn't. A lot of ship parts are kind of just there. Early on, you get like the map, and it shows you where every ship part is, and you basically just gotta like get to it. And I always thought the game was gonna be more puzzle like oh, you have to like manage your Pikmin to do this, that, and that, and sometimes there is, but it's a lot more straightforward than I thought it was gonna be. But I liked it. I liked how like it introduces like this whole weird like gameplay style, because you know, even though the game is an RTS, like you controlling Olimar and stuff is like such a different dimension for that genre that I think they get a lot out of it from that first game. But it still feels like, I guess, like a tech demo, like, oh, we could do more with this, but this is about what we had time for the launch of the GameCube. And I think they nailed it. Like, I think the game still looks great. You know, the game is just still so unique. Like, you know, not a lot of games come out that play like Pikmin, or they do and they're like not great. You know, things like Brutal, like I love Brutal Legends, but the RTS stuff kind of sucked. So I think things like Pikmin just really nailed it, which is crazy. And then Pikmin 2, I'm like 6 hours into Pikmin 2. And yeah, they really expand everything about that formula. You know, the game is just bigger in general. You have two new types of Pikmin, like purple Pikmin are overpowered. Like they just destroy everything. White Pikmin are fun. Like, they have the poison that could like bury things in the ground and stuff. But yeah, it seems like the game really makes use of all its mechanics at this point because the game is a lot harder. And I know for some people, like my brother doesn't like Pikmin 2 because like there's a lot of bullshit in it, and it is because of the dungeon mechanic, right? So like
yes,
and Pikmin 1 you have the overworld only, and I still feel like that's the strongest part of the game is the overworld because I feel like you could do a lot in that, and I feel like that's where Pikmin like does best. But I don't think dungeons are a bad idea either. I think it's just the way to implement it into isn't great. So like each floor is randomly generated for some reason, but all the enemies and treasure on that floor is always the same. So it's just like the layout changes, which is weird. So you get like a lot of weird nonsensical design, and like, so there'll be walls guarding nothing. Like there's no treasure there. There'll be like 40 enemies in one room. And then if you go to another room, there's like nothing. It just makes it feel like really like not well designed in that aspect. Also, there's the thing where the game is just like horse shit, where it's like bomb rocks just fall from the sky, or like a random rock just falls on all your Pikmin and everyone dies instantly. It's just kind of like annoying. I already knew that coming in, so like I know I just dismiss all my Pikmin from the start. I'll go around the whole floor as like one of my captains and just like trigger all the traps so like none of my Pikmin die, and it makes it a lot easier. But if you're playing this for the first time, it's like, yeah, it's horseshit. Like, like there's no reason why the game should be like, Pikmin are just dead now. Like, and you have no way to counter that. That's dumb. So I'm glad Pikmin 4 seems to be bringing back dungeons, but I don't think they're randomly generated in that game. I don't think there are. If so, I think that's great because I think dungeons are a cool like thing for this series. I just think they could have been implemented better. So I'm glad that 4 is kind of going back on that. Also, I really like the idea of having the two captains, but it feels like the wrong game to introduce it in because most of the like 90% of your gameplay is in dungeons, and you're never going to split your captains up there because the area is so small. Like, it's cool to do in the overworld. Like, I get a lot of use out of using like the two captains there, but I feel like this game was like a weird mismatch with that mechanic because like you're never using it because, again, 80% of your gameplay is like underground. So I know Pikmin 3 really like enhances that because you have three captains and the whole game is overworld. But yeah, so far I'm liking that the game has more content. I'm enjoying it a lot. But I probably am enjoying it a lot more than some of the other people that hate Pikmin 2. But yeah, I could definitely see its issues, and I'm excited to like finish Pikmin 2 and then go to 3 and then see how 3 really like perfects the formula. But yeah, so far I've been really enjoying the series a lot. Yeah, no,
Pikmin 3 is the best. I mean, like, it's just because when it was on the Wii U, like, you would use the gamepad to, like,
command,
put your captain, like, where they want. So I haven't played the Switch version yet, but just thinking back to, like, when I was first playing the Pikmin franchise on the Wii with Pikmin 1 and 2, Pikmin 2 was just so fucking annoying. Like, I was having so much fun with Pikmin 1, and then I went to Pikmin 2, and then I was like, oh, so, like, these dungeons, fucking time stops and everything like that, and then the levels themselves are like randomly generated, which I forgot about. And then on top of that, there is a lot of bullshit that happens within those dungeons that just make them harder for like no reason. But maybe one day I'll go back to them, but I think I'm gonna go into Pikmin 4 just raw dogging it 10 years after Pikmin 3 and see what happens. Hopefully I still got it because Pikmin as a franchise as a whole isn't that difficult. So
like I feel like that's the hard thing because like Pikmin 1 is actually like pretty easy once you like kind of know the mechanics and stuff. Like at first it's kind of hard, but once you get it, you get it. I feel like they wanted to make Pikmin 2 harder, so they just added a bunch of bullshit that made it like not fair. I just feel like insta-kill stuff like out of nowhere is obviously not good game design. So so I feel like Pikmin 2 has a lot of good ideas. It just kind of fumbles a lot, and hopefully Pikmin 4 kind of fixes that because I know Pikmin 3 is more like Pikmin 1 and it looks like Pikmin 4 wants to be more like 2. So I think that's a cool like little compromise there. And last thing I did is I watched Elemental. I watched this in theater. This is the first Pixar movie I watched in theater since like Inside Out. So like it's been a very long time since I watched any Pixar movie in theaters. Like in terms of recent Pixar movies, I really like Soul a lot. Like I thought Soul was really good. But everything else has been kind of like meh. Like it's been like just okay, I guess. Like Turning Red was good. I kind of like Turning Red. All the sequels I've not really gelled with besides Toy Story. Like I think all of them are like, especially like Incredibles 2 was such a letdown for me. But anyway, this movie, a lot of people came into this wanting to hate it. Like people fucking hated this thing when they first showed it, and I thought it looked fine. Like I don't know, I feel like the amount of hatred this movie was getting was like for no real reason. I'm like, why are people hating this so much? Yeah, then I watched it. I'm like, yeah, it was a cute movie. I liked it. I don't think it's the best Pixar movie ever or whatever, but like I think what it did really well. And I think the marketing didn't help it a lot because it was trying to advertise itself like Zootopia, basically, where it's like, oh, look at all these wacky elements doing wacky things, and also like, you know, there's a love story or whatever. But I feel like they should have. It is a love story with immigration and stuff, and that stuff was never brought up. I feel like the world building in this movie sucks because that's not like what it was meant for. So like you have cloud and air people. I'm sorry, you have air and ground people for like no reason. They don't do anything in this movie. They're just kind of there. And like it's just like the world building was not as focused, and I feel like all the advertising was like, look how like Zootopia we are, and I feel like that was such a mismatch. And I feel like the whole allegory falls on its face when it's like elements don't mix. When I'm like, the only thing that applies to is fire, like everything else can mix. I really feel like it should have just been fire and water people, and that it would have been a lot better because it's not like ground and air people did anything in this movie anyway. And like, it's like, oh, we're in Element City, and the fire people come from the Firelands. Like, they really didn't give a fuck about like world building at all. Like, that's fine because it wasn't focused on that at all. It was like all just allegories for like immigration and like, you know, first generation people coming into like, you know, a city, and then the love story between like mixed race couples and stuff. And I thought all that stuff was good. You know, I thought it was really cute. Like, I really liked the, you know, the struggles that Ember was going through, and I thought the love story parts were cute. And yeah, I think it was just a really like inoffensive movie. Like I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I just think like the marketing for it was just really weird, and then like it's bombing and stuff, and like I really feel like it didn't deserve that. But yeah, overall I thought it was just like a cute movie. Like that's about all there is to say about it. Like besides complaining about like the whole like weird advertisement for it, and like I thought the immigration stuff was handled pretty well for what it was. Honestly, at this point, it probably should have just been about real people. You know, like screw it. like just thinking about like real people. I feel like we probably would have hit a lot harder at that point. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I also like the up short at the beginning. I thought that was really cute. As soon as that music started playing, like, oh my heart, no, don't play like the sad music. So yeah, overall, I liked it. I don't know. I thought it was cute.
Yeah, I mean, I think Elemental might be like the first Pixar movie I might buy on like 4K or Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah,
we'll see, because you know those things ever fucking drop in price or whatnot. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I definitely want to rewatch it when it comes on Disney Plus or whatever. But it is doing a little better since the last time I talked about it.
Yeah, because Flash is doing way worse.
I think actually one weekend it did take over Across the Spider-Verse at one point, but you know, other than that, it hasn't really been doing all that hot. And it looks like Pixar's re-releasing like older films into theaters. I know I saw like Toy Story's going back in theaters and several other ones. Yeah, no, they are trying to fucking recoup their costs, which is one way to do it, but you know, it is definitely blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll move on from there. We're going to get into the gaming news and the entertainment stuff. So first up we got is Bethesda sort of miscommunicating exactly what the physical edition of Starfield will have. Does it have a disc? Does it not have a disc? So the story all started because I did write for it for my Fandom Wire sort of organization.
Plug.
It all started with pretty much Bethesda support. Whoever was running that account was like, all physical editions will include a code for the chosen platform. There are no physical discs. And I think that was just a straight up miscommunication, because it looks like that, hey, if you do buy a box copy of it, it will come with a disc. So yeah, just pretty much the standard edition. I think the other editions may come with a code just to like compensate for those that are trying to buy the big collector's edition, and then also they have like a Series S or whatever. Just like with the Spider-Man 2 collector's edition, it doesn't come with the physical game, it comes with the code, just because the logistics of, you know, how many people have the regular PS5 versus the digital edition, you know, it's all over the place. And to those that like myself want the physical game, will get it used at some other time.
Yeah, so like, yeah, at first when I first heard about this news, I was like, oh, are we actually going with a discless society at this point? Like, I really thought like, you know, with the Alan Wake stuff, I thought like basically like all other publishers were like, oh, we could do that, and then they were just gonna follow suit. But now it looks like it's still gonna be with the disc. So that's good for physical owners that still want, you know, their box and stuff. So, but I feel like it's just a matter of time before companies start not making disc anymore. I feel like it's definitely a thing that's gonna be happening later, like throughout this console generation. And that's gonna be an interesting thing to talk about because I know you're big on physical stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like mixed, like I'm sort of like halves on it. Like I like getting Nintendo physical because they never drop in price, but everything else I kind of just get digitally. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this works, like for companies and stuff. Are they gonna get bullied into not doing it? Are they gonna do it anyway? Like the $70 thing just happened. Like Sony was like, this is the new standard, and everyone kind of adopted to it. Even though there was a lot of backlash from everyone else, but no one they didn't listen. So I wonder if they're gonna be more lenient with the disc stuff. Because a lot of people like to buy the disc. People like to go to like Walmart or Target and just like, all right, I'm gonna get a game, just gonna buy it, and there you go. So I wonder how that's really gonna affect like sort of like the gaming ecosystem at this point, because we had this discussion so many times with the digital versus physical. It's been a hot button topic.
Yeah, I mean, it would be wild if they release Starfield into retail stores and then they buy it and like it's just a fucking box,
Yeah, it's a piece of paper in it.
Yeah, it just comes with that piece of paper. And I think the main reason why I'm so concerned about, just the whole digital society is because, especially in America, we're not ready for it. Most areas, even within New York, you're going to have one internet provider. And if they're fucking terrible, then that's all you have. Most places don't have options where they can go to different providers and choose different internet services based on how they are. And, I'm lucky enough to, be able to choose what internet service I want. And because of that, I get pretty decent speeds. So when I do have to download a game on my computer or my PlayStation or whatever, it doesn't take that long. But I know that there's some areas, especially when this happened with COVID, with like people having to do school online, like people were having trouble going to their Zoom classes and everything like that because there's fucking no internet. So I think that once we get, I guess, better internet and, these companies are, stop being fucking greedy and just offer people good service and good internet, then I think we'll be able to embrace the whole digital gaming stuff because, it fucking takes a while to download these games.
Yeah, especially when they're like 100 like something gigabytes, like I'm lucky that I have really good internet connection, but like I know not everyone does, especially if you live like more like in the Midwest or whatever in the United States. Like I know internet's not as good over there. If you just can't afford better internet, if you're not wired, there's like a lot of different situations where like just downloading games could take like a whole last day for some people. And like, I mean, I'm happy that games are starting to do preloads now. That's really nice. So you could like download the 2 days before or something. But it's still like a lot, especially because storage is also expensive, and a lot of these consoles need SSDs now. Same thing with like, even if you're on PC, you need like an SSD for some of these games now. And the SSDs, one, aren't cheap, and two, you need a lot of room on that SSD for some of these games. So yeah, it's just, it's like a lot. And I know some people are still going to just prefer physical. So, hopefully we don't go down this route, even though if I'm mostly lean towards digital at this point because I'm lazy to go outside. Yeah. It's still like, I know it won't be healthy for like the, overall like gaming space, so.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely a good thing that, these games sit on retail shelves so people and, parents, kids, whatever, can buy those games without having to, go through the hoops of, taking out your credit card and putting it into the, store marketplace and make sure that you don't check it off for a save, card or whatever. So, there's definitely a lot of reasons why, parents and, people still go buy physical, and just because I like to have ownership of my shit. What can I say? And if the push comes to shove that we do become a whole digital thing, then so be it. Like I don't mind using Spotify and all of those other things for my music because owning music is kind of like you're really, really old if you're still doing that, which I only do for like certain albums and whatnot. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Well, I guess with more Xbox news because Bethesda. Xbox was in talks to acquiring Bungie and Sega to bolster Game Pass library. So yeah, they were like in the talks again. This like FTC document basically says like it just spelled a lot of like tea on everyone. I guess like they just are unveiling so many like secrets and stuff. But Microsoft was interested in getting Bungie, which is funny because Bungie was with Microsoft, then they went to Activision, and now they went to Sony. So Bungie was everywhere. But Sega was a pretty interesting one, especially now because Sega has a very good relationship with Xbox even now. Like they show a lot of their games first on Xbox. Like they all their thing, like a lot of the recent Persona trailers, because Sega owns Atlas. They showed like the Xbox logo first, and it's so weird because I always associate Persona with PlayStation more than Xbox. But they have really good relationships with Xbox, and they were thinking about buying them and stuff. That would be crazy. Like I feel like these acquisitions are like, we're up to a point where I don't know if they're going to be like beneficial to like anyone if everyone keeps owning everything, because then everyone's under the thumb of like 3 people, right? And it just have mega monopolies of people. I think it's good that we have independent, AA, AAA studios like Square, Sega, Capcom. I think it's good that they stay independent because they could do their own thing and not like solely owned by one person, because I feel like it could hamper their development and just change how they would do things if they weren't owned by a big like publisher or developer and stuff. So I think we're at a point where we should stop acquisitions, because I feel like it'll be too much. Like if like Capcom gets bought out, I feel like that would be kind of a big thing, because Capcom has been doing good by themselves right now. Square will also be weird if like Sony bought them and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like now it's like we should like chill out with acquisitions.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox especially, they have been trying to get their foot ahead of PlayStation for so long and so many years. Game Pass is good, and they're very friendly with PC, but people aren't necessarily buying Xboxes because of their exclusives, because everything's on PC or whatever the case is. And I think that with the whole acquisition idea, it is definitely getting a little out of hand. I think it would have been crazy if they did acquire Sega. I think that would have been like an insane thing to happen, because now you got Sonic going to be exclusive on Xbox consoles potentially, and you got Persona games potentially being exclusive to those as well. And it would just be a scary and kind of crazy world to live in, not just because I like them on PlayStation, but also because I think a lot of their audiences play on PlayStation, just because when you look at areas like Japan, people don't buy Xboxes, because people like the PlayStation consoles a lot better, and reasonably so. And I think that it's good to have good relationship with these companies. Like, for example, Sega has a lot of games on Game Pass, they're boosted for like 60 FPS and all of this other stuff. But I think that them owning Sega, I think that would be a little bit too much. It's sort of like the same story of when they tried to buy Nintendo and they sort of got laughed at the door. So I think that them partnering with Sega, maybe even publishing a few games or whatever, timed exclusives and whatnot, I think that that's healthy. I think that is fine. But when you sort of own them and you sort of have, control over what they can and can't do, I think that might be a step too far.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, because Square does the same thing. like they're very with like Sony, like they would release like 16 as a PlayStation exclusive for like a few months. Same thing with like 7 Remake and stuff. But I think they could also be like, oh, like Square also goes with Nintendo, like they could kind of choose where they want to go to have exclusives and stuff. And I think that's fine. It helps the developers, it helps the the Sony and stuff, or Nintendo, because they will sell consoles and it will help them fund the games they're making. So
everybody
I think
eats in that regard.
Yeah, everyone's like well compensated at that point. I just feel like when you acquire them, it's kind of like a whole different story. And I feel like it's just hard to acquire so many studios and make sure they're all doing what they're doing right. Like I feel like Sony like has the right amount of studios at this point. Like I feel like they like rotate through their big AAA games pretty regularly, and I think that's fine. Nintendo does the same thing, except Nintendo is more like most of the time the in-house, like they do like Splatoon, Animal Crossing, Mario, Zelda, that's all in-house stuff, and they would just rotate like whatever's coming out each year. And then they have the other studios for Metroid and stuff, and Xenoblade. While Microsoft is kind of just a mess because they have so many studios, but like they don't really have a good rotation going on. Like like Starfield is coming out, which is like cool, but we don't know what the next big game is going to be. Like we still don't know when Fable is coming out. So like and that was announced like at least like 2-3 years ago at this point. So I feel like Microsoft like just chill on the acquisitions and instead just focus on having that good quality like experience, that I think Sony and Nintendo has really already nailed for a while. So I feel like it's just more doesn't equal better, the saying. So
more is less.
More is less.
But also within the regards of like everyone owning everything, like imagine if everyone was under either Xbox or PlayStation, the games are gonna start looking the same to a certain extent, because like Sony's getting there. Like a bunch of their AAA games have have been open world games. They have been big, massive open world story driven games because it worked so well with The Last of Us, so that they started pumping out all of these other ones with Horizon Zero Dawn and everything like that. So, it is looking to be, also wary of like where this is going as well. So, having these smaller AA, even single A studios, just doing their own thing, creating their own ideas, that's also good for the ecosystem. So, Microsoft, I know you're trying to get ahead, but I think you should work with what you got right now and then see where it goes from there, because, they've been fumbling the bag ever since they announced the Xbox One was going to be, no used games and everything like that. And then they sort of fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah,
in terms of the console war, anyways, with the console war, people are still talking about that.
Yeah, it's crazy how Xbox is like the top of the world with the 360, and then like they just keep falling. So it's crazy to see that happen, because when we were younger, it's like the 360 was like the shit. So now it's not. People just get PlayStation. So yeah,
and it is what it is.
Yep.
All right, moving on from there. Apparently, sources are saying that Assassin's Creed publisher, they are remaking Black Flag, the pirate one, aka Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That game came out, I think, literally a year after Assassin's Creed 3, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. This was a launch title for the Wii U. I still remember that.
That's such a random fact to bring up.
But also, it came out during the era when, it was the PS3 and Xbox 360, but it was also coming to the PS4 and Xbox One. So, it was definitely during that time of sort of gaming and whatnot. But people really did like this game. I actually have another random ass story. I bought this on the Wii U at Best Buy, and I actually wanted to exchange it for the PS4 version or whatever.
Yeah.
But because I bought the Wii U version when it was on sale, along with all of the other ones, but because the sale ended, they wanted me to pay like extra like $20-$30, and I was like, no, fuck that, whatever. And I still haven't played Black Flag, despite all of that shenanigans that was happening. But yeah, this is the sort of open world pirate game that they did with the Assassin's Creed series, a fan favorite from my understanding. But yeah, if they're remaking it, I mean, do what you got to do. I think that some people brought up the comment of like they're sort of running out of ideas, and that is sort of true to a certain extent. The game is kind of old at this point. It's going to be 10 years old. So if they can remake it and, add new mechanics, actually like do some stuff with it and not just, make it shinier, make it prettier, then, I think that this remake may be warranted.
Yeah, I mean, my theory is, well, I mean, one, my brother loves Black Flag. Apparently it's really good. So that's cool. But my theory is, since like, Black Flag came out, and a lot of people like the pirate mechanics, and then they made Skull and Bones, and that game went through like goddamn development hell. It's still not out yet. And this is my idea, is like we could just remake this, like we could remake Black Flag with the new mechanics we made for Skull and Bones and recoup costs for Skull and Bones, because that game is gonna be dead on arrival. So that's like my weird conspiracy theory with like why this is even happening, because if you're gonna do a remake train of Assassin's Creed, why not do one first? It's kind of weird to do Black Flag first, so it makes like zero sense to me. So that's kind of my running theory there, because Skull and Bones is such a goddamn mess right now. Ubisoft in general is kind of just on fire, so that's my only reason why they're doing a remake of this game, because there's no way they wouldn't just start from the beginning, right? Like they wouldn't just do Assassin's Creed 1 and then like 2, because 2 is very popular, with Ezio and stuff, and do all the Ezio stuff. But yeah, they're just doing 4, which is weird. So yeah, that's kind of my theory on that. But hey, if I know a lot of people like Black Flag a lot, and it looks like a good resurgence of classic Assassin's Creed games again, then I'm sure Assassin's Creed fans are eating good right now with Mirage or whatever that one, the new one is called, and this one, like returning to its roots. Then yeah, if you were sick of the open world, like really open world Assassin's Creed games, then you got these now, so good for you. All right, so next we got a new Avatar game. So Avatar: The Last Airbender, Quest for Balance. I believe this is gonna be out for everything. Yeah, it's gonna be out for everything.
Yeah, including last generation.
Yeah, including last generation, so PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and all that, Steam, Switch. It's a new Nickelodeon game made by Game Mill. I think, did they make the Nickelodeon All-Stars?
They made the Nicktoons Kart Racers.
Oh, the Nicktoons Kart Racers. Okay. So yeah. So when I first saw this trailer, I'm like, oh, the environments look pretty good. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe this is actually gonna be a pretty decent Avatar game. And then they show the character models and the animations, and it looks super stiff. and super awkward. Like there's a moment where Toph is like carrying a rock and she's just like T-posing looking at it, and then it like flies away. So yeah, it's definitely budget and it definitely looks like a Wii game. But who knows, maybe it could be kind of fun. I feel like if they budget it right, if it's like a $20-$30 game, maybe it could be a good time. But just judging by this IGN video where the trailer was uploaded, you know, it has like 500,000 views but only like 8 likes, so that's a pretty bad like to the view ratio there. So and just from the comments, it looks like a lot of people aren't happy. So yeah, I would still like a really proper Avatar game. I think there's room in the world for a really good one. You know, I think the Korra game was pretty fun for what it was. I know people shout on that game too, which I don't know why, because it was like it was an Xbox arcade game. Like I don't know what people were really expecting for it, and I thought the combat was like really fun for what it was. This game looks more like in that sort of vein, but looks like it's gonna be, you know, more expansive and stuff. But yeah, it still looks like not the Avatar game people were hoping for. But hopefully this could open the way for better games and stuff. I just feel like Nickelodeon's really cheap with the games in general. Like they have great ideas. Like, you know, with the Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl, like I feel like it had good ideas, it just needed way more money, and Nickelodeon was just not giving it to them. And the same way with this game. Like it seems like they really want to make something ambitious, but it's like, nah, you're getting like $2 to make it, so like good luck. So that's a little unfortunate, but yeah, it's coming out if people are, you know, want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like within the same vein and the same style of the old Avatar games that came out on the PS2 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When the show was airing. And, you know, we're getting that just on current generation consoles. So I wonder how this is going to play out. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited for it. It looks like it can be at least like a fun time to just like re-experience the Avatar story once again. Even if the game looks a little janky and looks a little funny, I think that this can still be a fun time overall. I'm not saying that it's going to be within the same vein of like the like Naruto Ultimate Ninja games, but it looks like that, just like a step below it. So I think that could still be pretty fun. But yeah, definitely like not the Avatar game people really want, especially because people have been wanting like an open world like Avatar, The Last Airbender game where you can like explore every single nation, you know, go and do like missions or whatever, fly on Appa and shit like that. So I think that, you know, for this game, you know, it's going to be a stepping stone. I think Viacom, the people that own Nickelodeon, I think that they are very stingy when it comes to their video games, because they're just like, oh, you know, it's just, you know, for kids or whatever. But like, I think that they should realize that, hey, you know, like there's a lot of adults that play video games, and especially people that really like Avatar now because the show came out like the early 2000s.
I was going to say, it's like 15, 7 years old at this point. Like no kid is playing Avatar at this point. At least I don't think so. Not until they like show the new series. So
yeah, I mean, you know, hopefully the game does decent enough, but we'll see when reviews come out and how that'll change. But this is multiplayer. You can play online and couch co-op. Yeah. Okay. So you can play it with one other person, which is pretty cool. I think that is cool. Like a very unique aspect of it. So, hey, you know, if you want to show, you know, like your little cousin Avatar, you can have them play the game with you. So I think that can be a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Next bit of news we got here is Metal Gear Solid Master Collection will require a controller for the PC version. There will be no mouse and keyboard support. So yeah, this is pretty weird, pretty strange. I think that there are probably other games on Steam that do this same exact thing, but for I feel like for most PC players, when they get a PC version of it, they want to be able to, you know, mess with the graphics. They want to be able to mess with the settings and everything like that. And on top of that, possibly play with mouse and keyboard. And the fact that this isn't supporting that, I think it's just them being like, we're just going to put the games on here and then we're just not going to touch anything else. You know, you probably can't even mess with the graphics all that much or anything like that, which is going to be a shame, because I think that is like one of the biggest sort of pulling points for people to get stuff on PC, is that, hey, you can like customize it and like do what you want with it a lot more than you would on a console. But, you know, mouse and keyboard support, you know, not being there, I think that that's just them also being like, we don't want to mess with that. We don't want to, you know, sort of have a control scheme with mouse and keyboards and everything like that. They want to, quote unquote, keep the experience authentic to those that are going to play it on PC. But even then, you're going to be playing with some random controller, Xbox and whatnot. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like there should be like PC controls with these games. Like, I know it's probably like a lot more work because, you know, a lot of these games weren't, you know, they were made for like PS2 and stuff, so they didn't feel like doing it. But I feel like some attempt probably should have been made to make them work with, mouse and keyboard. Because yeah, if you buy a game on Steam and then you just you just can't play it now. Obviously it's it's a difference with the game is better with a controller, which is fair. I'm pretty sure these Metal Gear games are better with controllers, but I think everyone should have the option to pick what they want, especially if it's going to release on PC. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's if you come out with a game on PlayStation, it's you can't play with a controller, you gotta plug in a mouse and keyboard. It's where the fuck am I gonna get that? So yeah, I feel like it's only fair that they were allowed mouse and keyboard support in that case. But the collection is looking pretty good. It does seem to have a lot of content, for Metal Gear fans. I'll probably pick it up because it is a series I do want to play through at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely the most convenient way to play these games again.
Yeah, especially when they do Volume 2, because I believe it was I leaked that Metal Gear Solid 4 was supposed to be on there, and that thing has been stuck in PS3 hell for ever. So that's gonna be cool to actually have that game to not be on PS3, because there's so many games in PS3 hell that I would love to get out of there. So, but I mean, it sucks for PC players. Hopefully they do fix that, or maybe there could be a mod for it. Wouldn't surprise me. That's the good thing about games that kind of broken on PC. Modders just come in and fix that shit instantly, which is insane. So I always gotta thank the modders for that. So next we got Marvel Spider-Man 2. The game would be at San Diego Comic-Con. So I don't know if they're gonna be showing anything too major.
I think they actually just announced what they're gonna do. I think that they're gonna have the voice cast on there. Just find the tweet real quick. Yeah, so they literally just tweeted out 40 minutes ago. Let's get Symbiotic. We're thrilled to announce Marvel Spider-Man 2 will be at San Diego Comic-Con 2023. Catch our panel, Symbiotic Relationships, featuring Insomniacs and actors actors from the game in Hall H on Thursday, July 20th.
All right, so it looks like there's going to be the standard panel stuff. Probably just going to talk about do the funny voice, or how did you come up with this gameplay idea and stuff like that. Usual panel stuff. Usually don't reveal too much big stuff, but we'll probably get a funny clip or two or something. So yeah, will be interesting if you're just really hungry for Spider-Man 2 news. It's gonna be coming out soon, October 20th. Same day as Mario. So a lot of things coming out October. I'm looking forward to it and not looking forward to it. So
yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting time. But yeah, I mean, I think that them having a presence at San Diego Comic-Con is pretty cool. Just because Marvel MCU stuff is not gonna be there, but this game everyone's fucking excited for it. If you have a PS5, you got to be excited for this game because there's literally nothing else coming out later this year, as far as I can remember. But them having Insomniac there and having the actors there and probably asking them questions that they're likely gonna know before they get on stage, but just giving us more insight as to what's in store for this game and maybe what it was like working on this game and everything like that. I think that that's still a lot of fun and really nice details to know before going into it. Especially for super fans like us that are very, very excited about this and want to see how it all came to be and sort of how it was recording everything like that. So
yeah, it's I always when they just kind of talk and just talk their minds and stuff and just be hey, this is what's happening, or this is how we came up with this and stuff. I always think that's pretty interesting. Usually I think actual Comic-Con panels always just kind of meme fest, so that that's always fun as well. But I actually really like the the game conference stuff GDQ or whatever, all that stuff that one is when you get really behind the scenes of games and stuff. But the Comic-Con panel is always we're just having fun. So yeah.
All right, so next bit of news we got is The Last of Us Part 3 details leak. So these are apparently what's going to happen within The Last of Us Part 3 as they are looking to start filming soon. But it looks like that we are going to follow a new group of scavengers, a group of 5, and they all have their own names. I'm not going to list them out for you, but they're between the ages of 18 to 25, and Ellie will once again return. She'll have a similar role as she did within The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm just going to assume that they're going to split the groups again and sort of we're going to meet within the middle and something's going to happen. That's my best guess, but I'm sure that Neil Druckmann has some big genius idea that he's going to sort of maybe change it around, maybe have a switch between the E2 a lot more often. Maybe we'll actually fall in love with these scavengers and actually be invested with them, because that was a huge complaint with people that played Part 2, where it was we don't give a fuck about Abby, she did X thing and we don't like her, yada yada yada. But I think that The Last of Us as a series has always been about what is actually right and what's actually wrong, and everyone sort of follows within this gray area within the series and the franchise. You know, no one actually does anything that's 100% right, and no one does anything that's 100% wrong either. You know, you can always argue for one side or the other, which, you know, was a very interesting conversation when the HBO show ended, when fucking Joel killed all those people in the hospital. It was like, oh shit, he was the good guy, right? Like, shit.
Yeah, it's you know, it's gonna be interesting. You know, I know the series is like, some people don't want it to continue, some people want new characters at this point, or just like, you know, Naughty Dog to just make a new IP and move on. But you know, I guess they're not done with the series just yet. You know, they gotta make like at least 4 games until they're done. That's usually what they do. We still need the Last of Us kart racer. You know, we're still missing that. But yeah, in all seriousness, you know, I still haven't played Last of Us Part 2 just yet. You know, I'm kind of waiting if there are, like, I don't know, there was rumored there was supposed to be like a PS5 edition with some new stuff, and I don't want to like start playing through it and then they start doing that. I'm like, all right, I'll whatever, I'll just wait at this point. But yeah, you know, I'm interested to see how it goes, because I know Last of Us 2 is very controversial with a lot of the story decisions and stuff, and, you know, a bunch of other reasons. So it's gonna be interesting how Naughty Dog sort of approaches those criticisms, if they care at all. Like, it seems like they don't care as much. Like, they say, we're just gonna keep doing what we do, and, you know, I mean, if they want to stick to their guns, they're gonna stick to their guns, because, you know, Naughty Dog sort of the pioneer of this really cinematic, like, sort of like movie game, I guess, as people like to call them. You know, more like just you go through a thing, you have fun, you do the set pieces and stuff. I didn't like invent it, but like they were definitely the ones that like modernized it and made it like really popular. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how Last of Us 3 sort of addresses those criticisms, or just don't at all. So I guess we'll see. Because you know, Naughty Dog, I think, has always been such a golden child for like gaming, and Last of Us 2 was such a big like divider to a lot of, you know, a lot of people, like, oh, Naughty Dog doesn't have it anymore, or, you know, what's going on here. So you know, I guess we'll see. Because God, that was such a fucking mess to go through that discourse. I didn't even play the fucking series at that point. I was just like, damn, man, it's just such a toxic environment. It was so bad. So not looking forward to that again. But you know, if you love Last of Us, then yeah, we got more on the way.
Yeah, I mean, when you just have so many people that are following this series just because of Joel and Ellie, and because they're so likable and they're so, you know, good characters to just watch and see what they do. And then, you know, part 2 comes out, which was like a lot of people's most anticipated game of that year, especially since it was 2020, you know, when like everything was shut down, and this was like their one thing that was like, you know, probably gonna save them from like going insane. And then, you know, some people lost it all, and they fucking went online, and, you know, they were having rants and everything like that. But, you know, all things considered, you know, The Last of Us Part 2 was successful enough to, you know, spawn the HBO series, and for them to even remaster The Last of Us Part 1 again. So, you know, this franchise has made them so much money. It would be dumb for them to let go of it right now, especially because some people actually do want a part 3. You know, I'm one of those people that are like, you can end it with part 2, not because of like the decisions that was made within part 2, but because I felt like the story ended. You know, I felt like that was like a solid conclusion. I mean, I felt the same way with Uncharted 3, and then we get Uncharted 4, and that was a fucking banger. So maybe I could be wrong here. Maybe Neil Druckmann has a better ending for Ellie and her character within part 3, and, you know, whatever happens. But, you know, if these sort of leaks are true, then I'm all for it. But, you know, like as always, we'll just have to wait and see.
Give me Jak and Daxter 4. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay. I know that won't happen. All right, so more Xbox stuff. So this is, again, leaked from the stupid FTC thing. So Xbox believes a PS5 Slim is expected to release later this year. And that sounds about right, because, you know, there's already been a lot of rumors about different PS5 models. They're already saying that maybe 2024 or 2025 is going to be a PS5 Pro as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of rumors about this, but this basically confirms that, yeah, they're at least doing a Slim, which is kind of crazy. Actually, it's not that crazy. It's just like, I always feel like there's no point in Slims when Pros come out, because I'm like, at that point, you'd rather just get a Pro, I guess. Slims are great for people who didn't buy it in the first place, because it's, you know, it's usually cheaper and stuff, so might as well.
Smaller.
and smaller. I mean, the PS5 is pretty beefy, like, in terms of size. I got nothing would beat the size of the PS3, like, original. God,
do you still have that under your desk?
It's not under my desk anymore. I changed it out because I wasn't. All the Ratchet and Clanks went on the PlayStation, the streaming thing. So I'm like, I don't need this here anymore. So I put it back on the shelf there. But yeah, the PS3 like original is so fucking big, bro. Like that thing is so large. It sounds like a jet engine. So obviously the PS5 is not that bad. Like, you know, it's still pretty large, so a slim would be cool. I wonder how the design is gonna be. Like, I wonder if they're gonna change the little V-neck thing they got going on. I feel like that's too like it's too like PS5 to remove that. So I wonder how it's gonna look like, because usually the slim designs I actually really like, you know, the PS2 slim, that's great. PS3 slim look really good. Not the super slim, but the regular PS3 slim look good. But yeah, you know, usually the slim designs have, you know, they have good design. So I wonder how it's going to look. And obviously it's great that it's going to be probably cheaper and more people could play on the PS5. I wonder if they're going to bundle in anything with it, like maybe like God of War or Horizon. I think that'd be a good like way to get people to like play the game more.
Maybe just like a general voucher for like one of those games.
Yeah, that'd be cool as well. So you can sort of pick what you want. You know, Astrobot I think was a great packing game, but you know, obviously at this point you want something a bit meatier than that. So that'd be interesting to see what they do here. Obviously I won't be getting it. I'll probably just wait either for a Pro if I really want it, or just wait until the PS6 at this point. I didn't really feel like I needed a PS4 Pro, so we'll see how I feel about a PS5 Pro. But I probably won't. I probably won't bother with it. But again, always great for people that don't have a PS5 yet. I know a lot more people are starting to get it now, so that's good. So yeah, I guess we'll see if this is actually true, which it probably is, because, you know, I guess Microsoft just has spies in like Sony offices, I guess. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, Microsoft doesn't give a fuck. Everything with this FTC thing, they're just like, we're just gonna leak everything. Fuck everyone. All right. So yeah, I mean, if a PS5 slim does happen, that's good. I mean, I'm also one of those people that didn't get a PS4 Pro. I had a PS4 when it came out the year after, I believe, or something like that. But I never had the sort of want to get a Pro, because I was just like, what does it even do? What, it makes the games better, it runs them better, all right, whatever. You're like, the games will still run, right? Then it's fine. But I think a slim model is definitely like a nice touch, just because, like you said, more people can buy it at a cheaper price, and if it is the one with the disc drive, I think that can be good as well. And you know, I think that the size of the console is also like a big thing as well, because when I got my PS5, I was like, where the fuck am I going to put this thing? Because it is just so big and so massive. And I think that to anyone that has it stand up without like barriers next to it, you're kind of trolling, because, you know, having consoles stand up within 2023, in my opinion, is a little dangerous, especially since if you knock it over and you got a disc in there, I don't think it'll get all scratched up like the Xbox 360 days, but still I get concerned about that stuff. But
dude, my Wii fell so many times.
But yeah, I mean, you know, the slim models are always very, very cool. I actually had both PlayStation 3 slim models, so that was how I first got my PS3 with the original slim, because I think it came out years and years later after the PS3 came out, because I don't know why it just took them so long to just like figure out like, hey, we just can't have backwards compatibility. We'll just, you know, just like get rid of that, and then we'll release this slim model. And I was like literally obsessed with that thing. I was like looking at like the fucking IGN unboxing video like 20 times over, and then my dad got it for me for Christmas.
Yeah, you had a 360 first, right? Like you didn't get a PS3 when it came out. Yeah, so yeah, I got PS3 when that came out because Ratchet. So yeah, it's like I follow where he goes. So yeah,
yeah.
I think I got 360 way later. Yeah.
And then for some reason, my original PS3 Slim that I had for like years and years and years, for some reason, like when I would put the disc in, and then when I would try to take it out, it just wouldn't come out sometimes. And I was just like, that's a little concerning. So then I went to Play Trade and bought right before they fucking closed. I don't know when they closed after I bought that, but that was the last thing I bought from that location. But yeah, I got the Super Slim for like $60 or something like that. Less than 100. But I was just like, yeah, I just want to make sure that I have like a PS3 that I can use and also return if it happened to not work, because I don't want to buy one on eBay or whatever and then, you know, go through all that stuff if it happens to not work and, you know, fucking DK oldies, whatever. But yeah, you know, slim models are always very, very good, just because you're gonna have more options, more sort of systems to buy and choose from. And you know, that's exactly why the Nintendo Switch is never fucking out of stock anymore, because if you want one really, really bad, there's always gonna be the light. You know, no one's buying that shit because people want that option to plug it into the TV. And then even with that, you have the original Switch, and then you have the OLED. So
yeah, it's you know, it's always good for more Xboxes. I mean, PS5s to be out there.
Yeah. Moving on from there, we got, we were alluding to this earlier, but the Flash movie is doing really fucking bad. It is doing god awful. It is the biggest flop of Warner Brothers. They have not been able to recoup their costs whatsoever. Apparently, it cost them $200 million just to make it, and then I think that also includes advertising or whatever, and they only broke 100 mil worldwide recently or something like that. And apparently it's being pulled from theaters now because they obviously were trying to put it in as many theaters within, each theater has like a certain amount of screens. And I think The Flash was taking up most of them, but there were no seats filling up. So it looks like that they're just going to start pulling it from theaters and then just fucking put it on HBO Max and then, just fucking take the L, because I know, in my theory, the reason why they did not can this movie or sort of like try to reshoot it or whatever without Ezra Miller is because, they already had all of this merchandise lined up. They already had all of this shit made and everything like that. And especially with Michael Keaton's Batman, you got all of those nostalgia sort of like figures that can come out with Michael Keaton's Batman. But it came out and it's a fun, enjoyable movie. It's not necessarily the best comic book movie out there. Definitely not the best one this year with fucking Across the Spider-Verse, but
and the Guardians,
yeah. So it definitely is like a fun movie, but I could definitely see why it flopped, especially since because a lot of people don't know about the Flash or really care about this version of the Flash in particular.
Yeah, I feel like DC was kind of like aiming it to be like, it kind of was like be like this like Justice League movie at this point, because I feel a lot of the advertising is basically didn't even show the Flash anymore. Like it was just like all about like Batman and Supergirl and stuff. I'm like, wasn't this supposed to be like a Flash movie or something? So I don't know. I guess it just didn't caught the attention of like anyone, which is actually kind of surprising. Like I thought the movie would do like pretty well. I didn't expect it to bomb as hard as like Morbius. Like that's insane to me. Mostly because like more people, even though Flash isn't as well known as like Batman or Superman or whatever, I expected him to do better than Morbius. So
yeah.
But yeah, I guess no one really wants to watch it at all. I mean, like, I kind of like I was on the fence about it. Like, I was probably gonna watch it maybe because, like, James Gunn was like, "It's the best fucking thing ever," and then like or whatever. I'm like, all right, maybe. And then all the reviews came out. It was just kind of like it's okay. I'm like, I won't bother. And it seems like everyone else agreed with me because no one else bothered with it. So yeah, I don't know. It still seems like the DCU is in such a bad place, and I thought it was supposed to like reboot it, right? Isn't this like the reboot button for it? So
which it did to some extent, but not really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Fandango also was doing like that buy one get one offer.
I saw, yeah,
which I thought was so fucking funny. I was just like, yeah, they are so desperate to get seats in there, which is understandable. They were fucking pulling from under the rug kind of thing or whatever the saying is. They looking for scraps pretty much. They were trying to get as much money as they could from people as possible, but people didn't bite.
Yeah, I've never seen a movie did like a buy one get one free like ever in my life, so that's funny.
And if it would be on like Atom tickets, and it would be like a special offer for like a day or something before it came out. So
yeah, so I guess no one really wants to see it, which is I guess unfortunate. Again, it just is what it is. Hopefully the Flash actor like goes to jail now, so we don't have to pretend like they were like not a criminal and stuff. So yeah, it's been kind of a mess the whole time. Like I don't know, the whole movie has been such a mess. Like with the lead up to it, the development hell it was in, and to now, like this whole movie was just cursed. I'm glad it's just done at this point.
Yeah.
So we could just never acknowledge it ever again. So
like they are 100% not going to recoup their costs from Blu-ray numbers, 4K sales, or anything like that, because people don't really buy that stuff anymore unless they really, really like the movie, including myself. Like if I see a movie in theaters and I really, really like it, yeah, I'll buy it on Blu-ray 4K during Black Friday. I'm not going to buy it when it comes out unless it's Spider-Verse. That's a different story. But the Flash, it's doing poorly.
It's like the third bomb they had. They had like Black Adam didn't do well, Shazam did awful, and then Flash did even worse. Like it's actually insane how much of a loss streak they've been on. It's insane.
Even then, Black Adam has been their best performing movie this year, or last year, I should say. Anyways, so. Yeah, it is a little concerning,
It's just kind of, I was talking to my brother about this. It's kind of insane how like almost every movie is like fucking bombing so far. Like I think the only movie that's been doing well is like Spider-Verse. Like everything has been doing really bad. Like Elementals did bad. this movie did bad. Indiana Jones is doing bad. I'm like, why is everything doing so awful? I don't know, just because we don't want mediocrity. Like, we don't want mediocre movies, or theaters are dying, as everyone says, or whatever. I don't know what's going on, but it's been rough.
Yeah. I think it's mainly because they put way too much money into these movie budgets where it's like, you know, they're spending however millions of dollars to get Michael Keaton to come back, which is understandable. You know, he's getting the bag, you know, do what you gotta do. And then, you know, he does his thing within the movie. But I think that films, especially the ones by those big budget studios like Marvel, DC, etc., where it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna put so much fucking money into this, where it's like, are we even gonna get the cost back? You know, like even with Indiana Jones, like most of those costs came from the fucking de-aging CGI. And like, was it even worth it? Because like Indiana Jones hasn't really been like a iconic movie character in years. Even when they did Indiana Jones 4 within like 2009 or whatever, you know, it probably did well during that time, but it's been well over a decade since that, you know. And you know, obviously they have brought back the Lego sets for Indiana Jones and everything like that. But even then, is that even like worth it? Is that even gonna like get all of their money back? And it's probably not, you know. And the only reason Spider-Verse is like profitable is because, you know, they had, well, for one thing, it's animation. Animation is not necessarily a cheaper medium, but I think that they don't have to spend so much on like getting people to like voice stuff or whatever, you know, like they don't have to use as much money on that. A lot of their budget, I fucking hope, because, you know, that whole news story came out where they were overworking people or whatever, but I hope most of that budget went to, you know, paying the fucking artist to make the movie look as good as it was, and then, you know, the other half can go to, you know, everyone else with like the voice actors and the producers, the sort of people that do the soundtrack and everything like that. But yeah, it's mainly because studios are putting way too much money into these movies just to not even get the return back.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like that's the problem with a lot of media nowadays, is like they spend so much money on everything that they need to sell like a bajillion copies or sell like a bunch of tickets to make their money back, and I just feel like it's not sustainable at this point. So I really, and this goes for like games too. Like, I feel like games should also like not like cost so much money to make at this point, and like, you know, just lower it down a bit. You know, I think people still like a good game if it's not like a bajillion dollars and you don't need to sell like a million copies. So yeah, it's kind of a mess. But speaking of DC stuff, we got Superman. We got the new Superman castings for Superman Legacy. We have David Corenswet as Superman and Rachel Brosnahan. I think that's how you say it. Bosnia.
Something like that.
As Lois Lane. Sorry for butchering your names.
We're fucking it up.
we're butchering those names, but you know, just from their pictures, you know, the Superman looks like Henry Cavill. Like, he looks like a younger Henry Cavill. So you know, if that's what they were going for, I think they nailed it. And Lois Lane, you know, she looks like Lois Lane, I guess, like white woman. So, good job. So but I think the Superman looks like pretty like spot on about like how Superman looks. You know, like Henry Cavill looked like Superman because that's what Superman looks like. So you know, just from looks alone, he looks like Superman to me. In terms of like actually acting and stuff, I don't really know yet. I guess we'll see. Again, I'm not too attached to like Superman as a character like at all. So you know, I'm hoping James Gunn could really make me interested in the character, because I think that's something James Gunn is really good at, is writing really good characters and like making me really care about people I've never heard of before, or people that I have heard of before but don't really care for. So hopefully he's able to write, you know, Superman really good. But I guess we'll see whenever the first trailer comes out and when the movie comes out as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, James Gunn, everything about this process of doing the Superman movie has been kind of documented and leaked, which is unfortunate. But, you know, I guess these two were in the main running, and I guess the screen tests were proved to be, you know, satisfactory for him to be like, all right, these two are going to be Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And, you know, Mr. David, he does look like a younger Henry Cavill, as everyone has pointed out, and I believe he's been in some movies to show his obviously acting chops. And I think those clips that I saw, obviously I haven't seen those full movies, but you know, he seems to be doing all right, you know. And what's it called, Rachel Brosnahan, hopefully I fucking said that right. You know, she wasn't my first pick for Lois Lane. Emma McKay was rumored to be also within the running, and I think she was supposed to be with David Corenswet, but it looks like that James Gunn liked Rachel as like the pairing or whatever, which is fine. You know, I would have just have liked to see Emma McKay, because I really do like her within Sex Education. She does a really, really good job, and she's going to be within the new Barbie movie. But, you know, seeing her within I guess like a franchise role might have been pretty cool, but, you know, alas, you know, it was missed. But, you know, I think that for like just like movies in general, just like knowing about like the castings and everything like that, you know, with like leaks and everything, I think it would be nice if like we didn't know so much. I think that was like a huge like sort of like discussion on Twitter, where it was like we kind of know like too much about like what's happening with movies these days. Like we know like literally every single aspect leading up to it. I think that for Superman Legacy, I think that is like kind of warranted to a certain extent, just because like, you know, Superman, you know, a lot of people still don't really know or really care about him, which is understandable. Heck, I don't even know much about him, but I do know enough to sort of follow along with most Superman stuff, maybe. I'm still like a very casual fan, but I definitely want to get into the new Superman cartoon show, which is actually premiering tonight or whatever on on Adult Swim, but it's coming out, I think, in a few days on HBO Max. But I'll watch that because it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So, you know, maybe Superman fans are eating once again. And I hope that this casting proves to be, you know, just right for James Gunn's version of Superman, because, you know, some people, you know, the fucking Snyder fans are all up like, oh, you know, like fuck this shit, annoying. Whatever. Yeah, no, they are a different breed. I will say that. But you know, there have been many different actors who have taken on Superman, and I think that this is just the newest one. And I hope that they do well with whatever James Gunn as a writer director has envisioned for this project. Yeah,
well, I guess we'll see how it goes and see how this new DCU is gonna work out. But hopefully the Superman movie is good, and it can actually make me like give a shit. So yeah.
All right. So next bit of news we got here is Suicide Squad Isekai announcement trailer. This was so fucking random. You know, just like with Batman Ninja, that was like the last like Batman anime thing that came out. Now we have a Suicide Squad one. And despite it being titled Suicide Squad, the trailer mostly just has Joker and Harley Quinn. My only thing with Joker's design is that he actually has a mouth over that paint, which is fucking weird. But it is animated by Wit Studios. I think that is very, very exciting. That's
pretty hype.
Yeah, that is like pretty cool, because I really do like what Wit Studios does, and pretty much everything that I watch from them. Obviously, Spy Family is like their biggest newest project, but that was in collaboration with another studio. I forget exactly who they were. It might have been Mappa. I feel like that's incorrect though. But anyways, you know, Wit Studios, you know, they are making this project. I wonder if they're going to do the same thing that they did with Batman Ninja, where the sub and dub were two completely different movies. So I wonder if they're going to do that again. I doubt it, though. But, you know, I'm excited to see what this Suicide Squad Isekai project has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like animation-wise looks good. Like Harley Quinn's a waifu, and Joker looks like an edgy boy. The freaking mouth on the mouth is kind of dumb. I feel they could have just made it like sharp teeth, and it would have been fine. But that's whatever. And yeah, they got Isekai to Fantasyland. They're fighting orcs and dragons and shit, and it's so weird. I don't know why they're doing that, but yeah, they just got Isekai, I guess. Yeah, definitely an interesting thing. And you know, when we say like, this is like really anime, right? Because it's like, you got things like Cyberpunk, right? Which is like, you're still in the world. It's just like anime now. This is like straight up like, oh, it's anime and they're in the Isekai. I'm like, okay, we're really going in for it. So yeah, I guess it would be interesting, pretty funny. I don't think it's going to be like that deep or anything, but it's going to be cool to see, you know, obviously there has to be more of the Suicide Squad here, I guess. Like we just Harley Quinn and Joker right now. But yeah, I mean, consider me interested. I wonder who's going to do the dub voices and stuff. Like, I don't know who's going to voice Joker or Harley Quinn or anything, but it'll also be pretty entertaining to hear like a Japanese Joker and Harley Quinn, because yeah, that'll be funny. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks good. I mean, that's a crazy studio to get to do like these funny things. Like, same thing when I heard when Cyberpunk was being done by Trigger, I'm like, god damn, like they gave like the big boys to do these like projects. So that's really cool. Yeah, I guess we'll see how good it is. All right, so next we have the Five Nights at Freddy's movie trailer. So, you know, I think I speak for both of us, or, you know, we don't really care that much for Five Nights at Freddy's.
True.
But, you know, we've been around since it's like Inception, and I've seen some of the game theory videos. But yeah, this looks like it'll be like a fun thing. It looks very faithful. Like the animatronics look really good. Like they look straight from the game, and apparently none of it is CGI. They showed like behind the scenes things on Twitter, like someone was wearing the suit and stuff. So that's really cool. Like I'm really glad that they're really committed to practical effects and stuff, because I feel like a movie with Five Nights at Freddy's is like it has to rely on that stuff. Since it's like, yeah, the animatronics are going crazy and stuff, and I feel like if it was CGI, it would lose a lot of the of I guess the magic of what makes Five Nights at Freddy's good. Being more of like a low budget type thing, but still being like scary and stuff or whatever. It also like has some more comedic elements than I thought it was gonna have. I guess like, I don't really know what the tone of this movie is gonna be. I don't even know if it's rated R or not. I'm not sure. Also, it's gonna be in theaters and streaming on Peacock October 27th, which I did not know. So it's gonna be on both things. But yeah, for someone that doesn't really care for Five Nights at Freddy's, I could say as just a casual observer, it looks pretty faithful to like the games and stuff. So that's good. I think a lot of video game movies nowadays are really faithful to the source material. It just depends on how it's written and like how it's like acted and stuff to be actually good. Because like the Mario movie and Sonic movie are not winning any awards, I don't think, but they were fun movies, and I think they had a lot of care for their source material. So hopefully the Five Nights at Freddy's movies is the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the movie's rated just yet. I would be kind of crazy if it was rated R. I think it's gonna be like PG-13 at most.
It has to be. Because so many kids love this shit. So
yeah, no, kids love Five Nights at Freddy's, so it would be really stupid of them if they made it super R rated for like no reason. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm not exactly a huge fan of FNAF, if you will. Yeah. I've watched several of the game theory videos until they got too abundant, and I was just like, this lore is getting too fucking crazy for me to follow. But yeah, it is definitely like a very interesting sort of series that sort of came out of nowhere and just had all of this random crazy lore just hidden in it. And I'm glad that the animatronics are practical. I feel like practical effects within movies are sort of underrated, even though they shouldn't be, because I feel like practical is better than CGI 100% of the time, just because you're able to actually understand what's happening within the scene right in front of you, as opposed to going back and like sort of like trying to like CGI piece it together. And sometimes it cannot look all that great and it could look a little off, but when you have practical effects, you can see right in front of you like how it'll look on the camera. So I think that this trailer gave everyone a much better idea of what this story is going to be. This guy sort of seems to be down on his sort of luck, and he just needs a fucking job, and this is his only job, and he has to bring his, I guess, little sister in to sort of sleep with them because he cannot leave her at home, and he's doing this job, and obviously the fucking animatronics are doing some weird shit. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. There's obviously gonna be jump scares because I feel like what else does Five Nights at Freddy's has?
That's what it's about. Yeah.
So I think that this will be a fun movie. No matter what, it does look. I'm gonna be honest. The first like teaser looked really really good. This trailer looks slightly worse in terms of like movie quality. But then again, I'm not expecting like like S tier sort of material here. I'm looking for like a B plus at most.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna delve into like the fucking lore in this. Like, all I know, you got like Bite of 87 because that's a meme. Purple guy and like the stuffed children and the robots. Like that's about what I know. So I don't know how deep they're getting into that. I don't know if that's gonna like ruin the mystique of the series either. Like, I don't know if like they have to like explain it. I don't know. That's up to the FNAF fans to really like get into. I'm sure it's gonna be a fun time, but seems like a perfect Halloween movie as well, coming out during that time. So yeah, it looks like it's just gonna be a fun movie. So that's all.
And also the fact that it is coming out on streaming at the same time, I think that is pretty cool. Just because like, I think that some films are good for that. Just because for this one, for example, if you have like a bunch of kids, and you want to take them to see Five Nights at Freddy's, it's like, well, it'd probably be a lot easier to just sit them in the living room, download Peacock, get the subscription for like the month or whatever, and then just watch it like that instead of going to the theater, paying like $10 per ticket and then doing it like that. So, I'm glad that they are doing it for this movie in particular, because, I think that it is warranted, because they'll probably hopefully recoup most of their costs doing that, because this trailer has fucking 18 million views, which is insane. So
it's a big series.
I'm sure some kids are watching this shit over and over again, just waiting for October. So
yeah, counting the fucking days.
Next bit of news we got here is Phil Lord and Chris Miller are open to delaying Across the Spider-Verse. So according to their interview with comicbook.com, They said, we won't back into a release date that doesn't fit. We're going to take the time necessary to make that film great. So, yeah, I'm just glad that they are recognizing that, hey, this is, both movies have been really, really good because they've really taken their time to make sure that, hey, everything looks good, everything's done right, correctly. I'm sure they have the story in mind. I'm sure they have the ending that they want for these characters, for Miles and Gwen. But, just like getting it down and getting it right and getting it to the animation levels that Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse have reached for Beyond is going to be, a huge task in it of itself. And, just by that Vulture article from those ex-employees that were like, they're not gonna fucking make that March date, which I'm just waiting for that day when they're like, yeah, it's delayed to whatever new date that they say, even if it is 2025. I will wait.
Yeah, there was a lot of things going around last week about, or the week before, I forget, about the crunch and them not doing things like in time, and do like 5 different like renders of a thing. It's really bad news, all things considered. So I'm happy that they're considering to delay it, which it definitely will be. It sucks that we have to wait more, but it'll suck worse for the people actually working on it. So yeah, I honestly take all the time they need. I could wait another 5 fucking years if it takes. Like, as long as they really nail the ending to this like really good trilogy so far, or duology, I guess, then I'll be happy. Just take all the time you need. These movies are fantastic. No reason to rush them at all. Like, just release them when they're ready, and I will be there. So, I just really don't want them to fumble at like the last minute, because that's always like the worst thing you could do. And it's nice to actually give your employees rest and like
good
fair
pay.
Treatment and good pay and stuff like that. No reason to like murder everyone over a movie. So hopefully things are working out better. During the development of this movie, because apparently it was just like hell to make Across the Spider-Verse. So, I don't want anyone to go through that just to make a piece of media, right? So, hopefully Beyond the Spider-Verse is just as good as the first two, because, we all want a good movie. So, yeah, just delay it. So, yeah.
Take your time, make sure people are getting rest, people are healthy, people are being able to have a nice work-life balance, because I think that is a thing that a lot of people struggle with even today, just in general, not just within the entertainment industry, but just in general. I mean, I struggle with that stuff sometimes too. Just make sure that people are okay and people aren't fucking crunched and they aren't working 6 days a week for 12 plus hours or whatever the case is. Actually have a normal schedule, and if it doesn't get done that day, it can picked up back the next day or after the weekend or whatever. So, for Beyond the Spider-Verse, there's obviously a lot riding on this final movie to perform well and do well. And I think everyone, including Lord and Miller, know that, they have to fucking land this. They have to land this, and people will love them for it. But at the same time, the whole studio thing of them, taking, 5 times to re-render something over and over again, that can be a little tiresome and a little annoying. So, or maybe not a little, very annoying.
Yeah. So take their time, please. If I've waited that long for Across the Spider-Verse, I will wait just as long. I do not care. So yeah, just release it when it's ready. I will be there no matter what. So last thing we got here is Spy Family Code White. This is a movie. I don't know. Is this an original anime movie? Like, is it not like?
So okay. I did some research. It is a original story. I believe the original mangaka is actually supervising the story and also the character designs and everything like that. But this is a brand new original movie for the Spy Family series.
Yeah, so that's really cool. I mean, I've been so behind on anime recently. I have not watched like any anime for the past like year, because so many games have been coming out, and like, obviously like the standard work and school stuff. But all my media time has been spent on video games, because this year has been insane for games, and I just want to play them and talk about them instead. So I haven't really had a lot of time for really anything else. So I've been really behind on everything, but I really did like Spy Family, and I watched the first half of it, and I watched when they got the dog. So that's kind of where I stopped for now. But yeah, I really like it. It's a very cute series, and I really like all the characters and stuff. And anime movies are always hard to do, like especially if they're original, because like a lot of the time they feel very pointless and like, well, what was the point of that? But I feel like Spy Family could get away with that since the movie is more of a a slice of life stuff. So maybe they could have like one little arc here and it'll be like a fun time, and then we'll be good. I don't think it'll really like destroy the pacing of the series or anything. It's like My Hero is like, yeah, these are so pointless. Like what's the point of watching these? Like they do a cool thing that should be so like plot shattering and stuff, but it never gets brought up again. It's just like, oh no, that's it. Okay, so yeah, it's dumb. But something like Spy Family, I think could get away with it a lot more. So.
Yeah, I think that my favorite thing about Spy Family, even when I read the manga, is like the chaos that just happens. Like when every single character is like doing their own thing, and like some of them know certain things and like the other one doesn't or whatnot, and like. Yeah, it is just so much fun, and I feel like within a movie setting, seeing that all happen on the big screen is going to be a lot of fun, and I think that just having all of that chaos happen once again is just going to be so much fun, especially since now we have, Bond in the picture as well, and having the movie use him as a character as well. I think that can be pretty cool as well. But yeah, this was only like a 30-second little teaser trailer, and it is going to come out in Japan later this year in December. And whenever it comes out within the States, I'm sure like a couple months, probably 3-4 months after that, it'll probably be in theaters, because anime movies are popping off in theaters, surprisingly, with Demon Slayer and everything like that. And obviously there's like smaller ones that appear every now and then within select areas, but yeah, Spy Family Code White. I cannot wait to actually watch this, because they announced this alongside season 2, but we haven't seen anything for season 2 yet. I think it'll happen for the winter season. I think that's when it'll come back. But
yeah, pretty cool stuff. Spy Family is good.
All right, so now we're going to get into the last bit of the show, where we're going to talk about Secret Invasion episodes 2 and 3. So we're going to do full spoilers, just by the way, for both these episodes. But yeah, I mean, Damian, what do you think overall for these 2 episodes comparatively to episode 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a lot better. I thought episode 1 was like really boring and I didn't know what was happening. I feel like this, I'm like, okay, I get what's happening now. There's a lot more things going on. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand like more. So yeah, I definitely have a better time watching episodes 2 and 3, because episode 1 was just kind of like bad. So.
Yeah, I think that these 2 episodes, especially episode 2, definitely picked things up and definitely gave us a much clearer idea of what was happening. I think your complaint about them retreading the whole terrorist thing, it seems like that is what's happening, just with Skrulls and alien people.
It's very much like Winter Soldier. I'm sorry, Falcon and Winter Soldier, yeah.
Yeah, so, we're just retreading that same stuff again, which is, it's okay, I guess. But, there were definitely a lot of great moments within episode 2 with Fury and him talking to several characters like Talos, him sort of, talking about his experiences of being within America, and then also going off and sort of trying to help Talos, but at the same time, Talos calling him out on his bullshit, and I was just like, okay, yeah, like they're both in the wrong to a certain extent, but mostly Fury. Yeah. And then I think the highlight of the episode for a lot of people was the whole conversation with Rhodes and Fury. Do you think that he's a Skrull?
Yeah, probably. It seems a little out of character for him. Like, I mean, and like some of his points make sense. Like, I feel like Fury would be a really aggravating person to work for, because the band is always disappearing and shit, and it's like really annoying. But I also feel like there's some things that I'm like. I really like all his dialogue in this, because I like Don Cheadle a lot. So like just seeing him there is cool. But yeah, I feel like some things he's like kind of like overly aggressive and stuff about it, and like just like being like he just wants Fury out of the way. So I feel like there's a really big possibility that he is sus. So like I'm definitely on the thing that he's probably like a Skrull. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have that feeling too. But I definitely really did like that conversation in that scene.
Yeah.
That quote that Fury said, he said, even when I'm out, I'm in. I was like, that was a little corny. I don't know if that was supposed to go hard. What were the writers cooking? I don't know. But like, that line for me was a little funny. I know some people were like, this is the coldest line in the MCU and shit like that. I'm like, you need to watch more stuff, man. I don't know.
yeah. I kind of felt the same way. Also, I think there's one part he says, I'm Nick Fury. I forget what he said that, but he said that in one of these 2 episodes. I'm like, okay. So, I do like seeing more Nick Fury. I think it does go into a lot of his problems as a character, like not like bad problems, but like good problems, I guess, being like he disappears a lot. He seems to be like he's kind of full of himself sometimes, and he just seems again like really aggravating to like be an ally for because it's just like, what are you doing? Also, one thing I don't get, so he gets snapped, right, and he comes back. And then what? He leaves for space for how long? Like
I don't know.
Okay, that part I'm still confused at, because yes, I know he got snapped and then he came back. But then after that, I don't know what happened to Nick Fury after that. I don't know if they're gonna explain it in this series or if it was already explained, because I have no idea. I don't know why he was in space to begin with. So I don't know. I haven't watched Miss Marvel. I really feel at this point I probably should, because I'm really confused about like the space stuff. But yeah, I think the conversation between him and Don Cheadle was really good. I really like when Don Cheadle was just like, let me copper bomb them. Let me just get over it. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I mean, him laying down the being like, yeah, man, like America's innocent. Y'all suck. Later. I'm like, hell yeah. Let's go, America.
Yeah, all my girlfriend had to say was that he's being a bootlicker, which was very funny, because I'm like, he is bootlicking pretty hard right now. But
I think was like the major thing that probably makes him like a Skrull, especially him, with Nick Fury talking. It's just like, I feel like he wouldn't be like that dedicated to like America at that point.
So. I mean, like he was one of the people that signed the whole Sokovia Accords and everything like that, but it was a little maybe the too hammy of a bootlicking performance, if you will. Gravik, I think that Gravik is becoming like a much more, I guess, threatening villain. I mean, obviously he already killed Maria Hill, which I guess that was like confirmed for now,
I guess she's dead.
Yeah, I guess she's dead.
I saw before the show came out, I said, we have so many plans for her. Like, we're going to do a lot for her in the show. And then she's fucking dead. First episode. So, like, okay, good job, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's confirmed for now. We don't know yet. But, I think that Gravik, his plan as like just being like a super like extremist, just like, we're gonna fucking kill everyone. I'm like, okay, bro, like that is like kind of crazy. And they're sort of like setting up the whole like super Skrulls thing within this episode, and then he actually says the line within episode 3, when you have like a super society or whatever, why don't we become super? And I'm just like, all right,
if everyone's super, no one is. I think I like his character, like, but it's definitely a character we've seen before. Like, I think like he's very similar to the again, like Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier like type beat. Like, it's a pretty like character we've seen before, but it's still good. Like, he's acted really well. He's pretty threatening and stuff. I also find his points like it's probably like on purpose, but he's like very hypocritical about like humans, and then like you have with Skrulls being like, oh, they're just gonna kill each other and they're so violent, and it's like, but you're gonna commit like genocide. So I obviously it's on purpose because he's insane, but like I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, I think he's a pretty good villain for the show. Really sneaky, like really intimidating and stuff. Honestly, the show's just really violent in general. Like, I'm like, oh shit, okay, they're chopping fingers off and shit. So I thought that was pretty crazy. And just like how cold blooded he is in general is pretty cool. Like, whenever he's like looking at someone, it's like, oh, that guy's dead. So, but yeah, his plan of using like I guess super Skrulls is gonna be pretty interesting, because like on the DNA sample, so like Groot and some other people there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays, like I guess in the finale where you have like superpower Skrulls like shooting vines and shit. So
I wonder exactly how all that's gonna play out. But I really like the I guess the final part within like episode 2 where like Gravik was like trying to like save intel, and like we got like that whole scene with like that guy like trying to not like confess or whatever, and like I forget that character's name, but she was just like straight up torturing the guy, like just not giving a fuck, like just tell me the info, like just tell me and I'll stop. And I was just like, okay, like this show is definitely getting a lot more, I guess, bloody and violent than I guess past MCU shows. Nick Fury's not shooting headshots or whatever, but he is shooting people, and we are actually like seeing them fall to the ground and shit like that. But I guess the final part within episode 2 was the whole like Skrull, him being married to a Skrull or being in a relationship with one. I was just like, does he know? Does he know?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm like, okay, I guess he just, and then I guess later we find out like, he kind of just knows, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's just like, just keep the face.
hold up, the just like the flashback sequences. I think maybe Disney heard people's complaints from episode 1. Where like, we don't know what the fuck's going on, so then they gave us that whole flashback within episode 2 to like explain a whole lot of shit. Not just stuff that happened within the previous movies and everything like that, but just like, in general, like when Nick Fury first met Gravik, when he wasn't like a fucking psycho or whatever, and then it happens the same thing within this episode where we get a flashback of him, I guess, meeting his wife. I don't know her name, but the female Skrull that he is in a relationship with.
I think that's cool to be like, we like, the all like just alien refugees coming here and stuff. Like, I definitely get like the bigger picture now thanks to those flashbacks. So that's nice, because I know like Captain Marvel like is like in the 80s, right? So like that kind of explains a lot of the some of the backstory with that. I mean, I'm assuming that's where Talos comes from, right?
Yes,
from that movie.
Talos is from that movie. Yep.
Okay, yeah, because like that's why I'm like I can kind of piece together now like what's actually going on, and obviously like I think the overarching like plot point is cool, like the kind of referencing like actual refugee stuff and like all that like in action or whatever. So I think that bigger plot points is cool. I do feel like it's gonna end up like every other MCU show though, where it's like I feel like the cool thing about this show is the Among Us like situation where like you don't know who's who, and they're killing each other from the inside and stuff. Like that's cool. I feel like as soon as it turns to Super Skrulls, I'm like you're kind of just ruining like what made Skrulls like Skrulls, right? Like, oh, now they're just like, oh no. I mean, I'm pretty sure they do that in the comics too, but it's still like, it's kind of like you kind of lose the whole like, oh, they're like invisible spies and stuff, because that's like sort of the whole point. But whatever, that's for the last episode to worry about.
Yeah, I think that just like the whole, I guess like Skrulls in general. Some people have brought up the fact that like this show feels like what Captain Marvel 2 should have been, and then they just wrote out Carol Danvers, and then they reworked Captain Marvel 2 into the Marvels and everything like that, which like I'm kind of seeing it already within episode 3, which is kind of concerning. I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess like certain things were supposed to have Captain Marvel in it, maybe, I don't know, but they've sort of set her up as like this bigger character within the MCU that I guess stuff like this with the Skrulls just doesn't fucking matter anymore, and she's just not within any of the flashback sequences or anything like that. So I can see, I guess, that theory play out, but I think that Gravik, once again, we see that talk with him and Talos within the, I guess, museum. And I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid, but I guess my question was just like, is he not like a wanted man? Like he's just sitting here within this museum, but then it is revealed that like everyone within that museum was a Skrull that's like on his side. I was like, that's how he's getting away with it. Okay, I get it now. But that whole talk with Talos, and then going into the next scene with Fury, I thought that was really, really good, because I'm just like, Fury ended that bridge, but like that's just not gonna last. Like
I feel like the conversation between like Nick Fury and like Talos was like pretty funny. Like I feel like this show didn't really have a lot of like that, like I guess like MCU humor in it, but it was good. It was done pretty well. So I was buying it. Like there's having like this old married couple bickering and stuff like that. I mean they already had it on the train as well. Like I think that was episode 2.
Yes.
Yeah, when they're on the train, like arguing and stuff. So it's good. Like, they're obviously on the same side, but it's like they kind of like, all right, you kind of get on my nerves a lot. So, and I think it's just cool to see like a lot of Nick Fury, just because like a lot of times it's like I'm making a team and then like he leaves. So it's kind of cool to see more of him. Also, I just like Samuel L. Jackson a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. I really, really liked him within the Winter Soldier movie. Like he was very, very good at that, sort of setting everything that up as Hydra was taken over. But within this episode, it was definitely, I felt, in my opinion, towards like the end of it, it felt like a self-contained like Saturday morning cartoon thing, where like they were just like trying to like stop like this bad guy from like bombing the ships, and then like it was like going back and forth between like the other side, where like I guess like those Skrulls like infiltrated, and then like we're gonna fucking do this, we're gonna pull the thing. But I guess like they didn't calculate that like the last guy that they probably should have taken over as like his face and everything, that's the guy that like fucking pulls the trigger either way. So
yeah, that seems like a really like not thought out part of that plan. You would think like the two people that have the launch codes should be Skrulls. Like it makes no sense why one guy would be a Skrull and the other guy isn't. Like that seems a little weird.
Yeah, that was just such like a missed like thing that I guess they forgot about within their plan. But Yeah, and I guess Talos's daughter, Gaia, which I don't think we've really talked about her. She's played by fucking Emilia Clarke, which maybe we should talk about her more. I think that she's having a lot of fun with the role, and I think that she's doing a pretty good job. I felt like her role within the show wasn't clearly defined, but then again, a lot of shit was just like messy within the beginning.
I didn't know what she was at first, but she's like an inside like person in there. So I'm like, okay, now it makes more sense. So. Mm-hmm.
Because
I hope she's probably not dead, but yeah.
I'm just like, she's not dead like that, right?
They pay too much money for her.
Shot.
Yeah.
No way. No way they're gonna kill her off like that. But because like the first couple of scenes we saw her with her dad, it wasn't exactly clear to me, anyways, that like she was like a spy or whatever. But like this episode made it very, very clear that like she was a spy, and that whole scene where like that old guy sort of taps Talos, so that like a phone gets picked up and like I guess like an old face changes, and I'm like, at first I was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, oh, that was her, because it goes back to her being within the car or whatever. So, but I mean, I just thought that she might have just made it too obvious for Gravik to like find out, but maybe that's what she wanted because she's not actually dead. I don't fucking know, because obviously like this entire show's about like who done it kind of thing, like Among Us sussy bullshit.
Sussy Bacchus.
We don't know who's who, what's exactly happening. So yeah.
But yeah, I definitely will say it's getting a lot more interesting now. I think now that they explained a lot more of the things that are going on, it makes a lot more sense. Like just explaining all the major scrolls and like all that. Like I think it's just starting to flow a lot better now. So that's good. Mm-hmm. I feel like I was really nervous like after episode 1. I'm like, damn,
yes,
is this gonna be like good or like am I just gonna suffer through this? But no, I was really, I was a lot more engaged with these 2 episodes than the first one, which is good. I'm interested to see how this plays out, even though, again, a lot of MCU stuff kind of plays out the same way at the end, having like a big fight at the end and stuff. So, and I'm not really expecting it to change much with this, especially with the introduction to like they're gonna be super scrolls and stuff. Like, graphics probably gonna be like a combination of like Groot and some other bullshit. So that's kind of just how it works out. And yeah, I mean, I actually am kind of glad they kind of split. If this was true, like Miss Captain Marvel in this, because I feel like Captain Marvel's power level is like a little too much for this, and like her power set doesn't really match like this type of show in general. Like, it's like a spy thing, and she's about blowing shit up, and she's like really overpowered. So I feel like that wouldn't really fit her character as much as it would like something else. So I think it's a little better to have like less supers on this show that normal. Like he's just Nick Fury and he's just a guy. So I think it's just fitting the show more than if it was to have any other superheroes in it.
Yeah, I think that they should have done a Obi-Wan Kenobi thing where they had 2 episodes premiere at once, because like just like with Kenobi, that first episode was fucking rough, you know. So I'm glad that they are stepping it up now. I believe it is still a 6-episode series, so we are at the halfway point at this point, if you will. But yeah, it does suck that they are still using the fucking AI intro and everything like that. But hey, what can you fucking do? But yeah, I just can't wait to actually see what happens next, because I'm actually kind of excited watching the show again.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
am too. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, I'm happy it got like better, because again, like I said, I was pretty nervous. So I'm happy it got like more engaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because now it seems like the roles are like more clearly defined, everything like that. So
I just felt like they tried to do too much in episode 1, and then it felt like nothing happened, and then I was just like,
they're like, this is what's happening, and then everyone finished, and it was like, what the fuck just happened? So but yeah, it does seem like it is getting a little better as we move along. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to add, good Sa?
No, that's everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 116. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.